Good evening, guys. Okay. In the previous class, we have seen the introduction of the big data analysis. What is the data? What are the measurements of data? What is big data? What are the characteristics of the big data? We have seen briefly the introduction of the big data. Today, we have to see the file systems of the big data. In the today class, we have to see the file systems of the big data. Previously, we have seen the 5 characteristics of the big data. The 5 characteristics are volume, variety, velocity, variability or veracity, and the value. Volume indicates size of the data, variety indicates different types of data, velocity indicates speed of generation of data. Okay, variability indicates variation in the quality of the data, value indicates the reliability and trustworthiness of the data. Clear? That is the characteristics of the big data we have seen. Now, today we have to see a concept working with big data. Okay, we have briefly seen what is a big data and what are the characteristics of big data. Now we have to see the concept of working with big data. Okay, when we come to this big data, we already know big data can be defined as a huge volume of data which is generated by the digital process. Clear? It is a huge volume of data. A big data can be defined as huge volume of data. Clear? When we come to this huge volume of data, to handle this huge amount of data, two file systems are developed. One is Google file system and another one is the Hadoop distributed file system. These two file systems were developed to handle these huge volumes of data. Clear? These two file systems, whether GFS or HDFS, Google file system or Hadoop distributed file system, these two considered all the 5 characteristics of the big data. Okay, the 5 characteristics which are known as volume, velocity, variety, veracity, and value. Okay, these 5 characteristics are considered by these two file systems. The both GFS and HDFS both consider the 5 characteristics of the big data. They are working to implement all these 5 characteristics. While they are working, they are considering all these 5 characteristics. Okay. First, Google came up. Okay, the Google company has came up with the proposal of the Google file system, and they published a paper on that concept. Look, when we come to this Google file system, first Google company has came forward with the proposal of the Google file system to handle huge volumes of data that is occurring for the Google company. Okay, and regarding that Google file system, it published a paper. Later, by using the paper which is published by the Google, okay, Apache has developed another file system called Hadoop distributed file system. Clear? First, Google has proposed the Google file system. Again, basing on the Google file system developed by the Google, Apache has developed another file system called Hadoop distributed file system. Clear? The first one is GFS. By making some slight changes to the GFS, Apache has developed another one called the Hadoop distributed file system. We have to see clearly about what is this Google file system and what is this Hadoop distributed file system. Those two things we have to see. What are the main goals of these GFS and HDFS? What are the main goals of these two? Either Google file system or Hadoop distributed file system. When we consider these two, what are the main goals of those two things? Okay, when we come to these two file systems, these two file systems were developed to support large files which are coming from various sources and in variety of formats. These two file systems was developed to support large files which are coming from various sources, various data sources, and in variety of formats. That is the first point about this main goal is The first goal is they have to support large files which are coming from from different sources and which are in different formats. That means different categories of data. Okay, these huge collections, these large files are distributed across thousands of disks attached to the commodity hardware. Okay, how these file systems, okay, will store that huge large files across thousands of disks, okay, which are attached to the commodity hardware. When we come to what is this commodity hardware means? Commodity hardware means inexpensive and frequently available hardware. The hardware components which are cheap and frequently available, which are easily available in the market. Those hardware components are called the commodity hardware components. Clear? Commodity hardware means the hardware components which are easily available in the market and which are cheap. Okay, when we come to the HDFS and GFS, they will store the large files across thousands of disks attached to these commodity hardware. We will see how those thousands of disks are arranged and how that will we will see more about those, how it is storing the data. When we come to the architecture of GFS and HDFS, we will learn more about this point. Currently here we have to remember only one point is, okay, the GFS and HDFS will store the large files across thousands of hard disks which are attached to the commodity hardware, where commodity hardware means nothing but cheap and easily available hardware parts. Okay, these HDFS and GFS both are designed for supporting data intensive computing. Okay, and not for normal end users. These file systems are not for the usage of end users. That means not for the direct usage of the ordinary users. These two file systems are not directly for the end users. They are designed mainly for the data intensive computing. What is this data intensive computing? When we come to the data intensive computing, it is a type of a parallel computing. Data intensive computing can be defined as a type of parallel computing in which the data is processed and analyzed. Okay, this data intensive computing is a type of parallel computing which is used to process and analyze large amounts of data. Why? Because when we come to our big data, we have large amount of data is there to to process that huge amount of data and to analyze that huge amount of data. Okay, HDFS and GFS will use the data intensive computing, which is a class of parallel computing. And when we come, the another goal of this HDFS and GFS is the data reliability. Okay, they should maintain the data reliability. Okay, the distributed file systems architecture will support the data reliability by using the distribution architecture. Okay, GFS and HDFS will achieve the data reliability. Data reliability means the data should be there even though when failure occurs in the hardware, we should not lose the data. Reliability means uh, the data should be permanent. Okay, the data should be there even though some failure has occurred in the hardware. Clear? The GFS and HDFS, by using the concept of distribution architecture, they will they will achieve the data reliability. Clear? Even though some of the servers are failed, it will happily achieve the data reliability. Why? Because of the concept of distribution architecture. Okay. Before going to the next concept, these are the briefly main goals of the GFS and HDFS. One more time, we will see again this GFS and HDFS. Okay, first point is the HDFS and GFS are built to support the huge files. Okay, huge volumes of files to support the large files which are coming from various sources and in a variety of formats. They are used built to support the large files which are coming from different sources in a different formats. Next, this huge data is distributed across thousands of hard disks which are attached to commodity hardware. These huge files are stored in hundreds and thousands of the hard disks. Okay, disks which are attached to the commodity hardware. Next, these HDFS and GFS both are designed to support data intensive computing. That means which is a part of the parallel computing. Is used for data intensive computing, which is a part of the parallel computing. This data intensive computing is used to process and analyze large amounts of data. By using this concept of data intensive computing, we can easily process and analyze the large amounts of data. Next, by using the concept of distribution architecture, by using the concept of the distribution architecture, okay, GFS and HDFS will easily achieve the data reliability. Even when failures occurs in the hardware components, the GFS and HDFS will achieve the data reliability. Why? Because it is following the distribution architecture. We will discuss what is this distribution architecture in the next concept. That is thing. So the main goals are it has to support large files. Next, it has to distribute the large files among thousands of disks. Next, it has to support the intensive data intensive computing. Next, it has to achieve the data reliability. These are the some main goals of GFS and HDFS. Next, when we come to before going to the GFS and HDFS, briefly we have to see what is this distributed file system. We are saying previously GFS and HDFS to achieve the data reliability. Okay, they are GFS and HDFS is achieving data reliability, is achieved data reliability through distribution architecture only. Why? Because they are following the distribution architecture. They are easily achieving the data reliability even though failures occurs in the hardware parts, either in the server or in the network. Whenever problems occurs, failures occurs also, data reliability is achieved. Why? Because they are following the distribution architecture. Here briefly we have to know what is this distribution architecture or what is this concept of distributed file systems. In one line, how can we define this distributed file system means? Distributed file system means the data will be saved in a central server. Okay, the concept of the distributed file system is instead of saving the data at the client side, the data will be stored in the central server, and any client which wants to access the data, it will connect to the server and it will access the data. Simply in one line, what is this concept of distributed file system means? Okay, the data will be stored in the, whether the files or data will be stored in the central server, and any client which want to access a particular file or data, it has to connect to the server and it has to access the data. That is in one line what is this distributed file system. Okay, see, distributed file system is a method of storing and accessing files based on client server architecture. Distributed file system is a method of storing and accessing files in the based on a client server architecture. That means the data or files will be in the server and the client has to communicate with the server to access the data. Okay, when we come to these distributed file systems, generally more central servers are maintained. Okay, not a single central server. Okay, multiple servers will be maintained to store the data files. Okay, if the client wants to access the data, they will connect to the servers. They will connect to one of the servers and they can access the data. Okay, here in more central servers are maintained to store the files. Okay, and the client whenever want to access the data with proper authorization rights, the clients can happily access the files which are available in the central servers. Here, what is the reason why they are maintaining more central servers to store the files in? Even though if one server is failed, the remaining servers will give service to the clients. The client will not be disturbed even though one or more servers are failed. Clear? And the distributed file system uses a uniform naming convention and mapping scheme to keep track of where files are located. To know the location of the files easily, it will maintain a uniform naming convention. Okay, it will maintain the path of the files, path names of the files, and mapping schema. Okay, to easily to easily locate the files. It will maintain a uniform naming convention as well as a mapping schema by using that one, so that it can easily track the files whenever the client want a particular file. It can easily identify the file by using the naming convention. See, when the client device retrieves a file from the server, when the client connects to the server and downloads, retrieves a file, the file will appear as a normal file on the client machine. Okay, when a client connects to the server to access some file, after the client connected to the server, okay, the file which is actually on the server will appear as a local file to the client machine. Okay, the client will feel that he is working with a file which is directly in his system only. Okay, he happily he will work, and after the work is done and the data is saved, again the file will be saved in the central server only. Okay, when the user finishes working with the file will return over to the server through the network with the altered data. Clear. When the client wants to modify the file, first he will connect to the server to access the file. He will retrieve the file from the server and he will work on the file. And after the work is over with that file, again the file will be stored in the central server only. Clear. This is briefly the distributed file system. Overall, what is a distributed file system? This is a briefly what is a distributed file system. Okay, a distributed file system is a method of storing and accessing files based on client server architecture. In this DFS, one or more central servers are maintained to store files so that the clients can access those files by connecting to the server with some proper authorization rights. Clear. To store the files in the servers, the DFS will maintain a uniform naming convention so that it can easily identify the files on the server. Here it is maintaining one or more central servers to store the files. Why? Because even though one server is failed, the remaining servers will happily work. The client will not be disturbed. Even though one of the server is failed, the process will not be disturbed. That's for that reason only more number of central servers are maintained in different locations. It will maintain more number of central servers. Next, to easily identify the file, okay, uniform naming convention is maintained. And when the client wants to retrieve access a file, first he will connect to the server with proper authorization rights and he will retrieve the file from the server. Then after retrieving the file from the server, the file will appear to the client as a normal file which is directly on his machine, so that the client person, the client user can happily work with the file. After the work is over, user work is over with the file, it will be stored back to the server through the network. Okay, this is briefly the concept of the distributed file system. Is it clear, guys? Briefly, we have seen the working with big data. We have seen Google file system and Hadoop distributed file systems are there. And when we come to the both are basing on the concept of the distributed file system. GFS and HDFS both are basing on the concept of the distributed file system concept only they are following. Now we will see our first file system, that is the Google file system. First we will see our first file system, that is the Google file system. After this one we will go for the details about the Hadoop distributed file system, HDFS. What is this Google file system? Okay, the Google file system is a scalable distributed file system. Okay, it is a type of a distributed file system for large distributed data intensive applications. It is a distributed file system which is used for large distributed data intensive applications. That means it is used for those applications which are generating the large amount of data. The Google file system is a distributed file system which is used for those applications which are generating large distributed data. That means huge amount of data. Next, this Google file system will provide fault tolerance while running on the inexpensive commodity hardware. Fault tolerance means, see, it provides fault tolerance while running on inexpensive commodity hardware, and it delivers high aggregate performance to a large number of clients. What is this fault tolerance means? Working of the system even though some of the hardware is failed to work. Okay, what is the fault tolerance means? Okay, the working of the system even though some of the hardware components are failed to work. If the process is not stopping, if the entire operation is not stopping, even though some of the hardware is failed, it is called fault tolerance. This GFS provides fault tolerance while running on this inexpensive commodity hardware. Already we told Google file system is working on the inexpensive commodity hardware. That means for these Google file systems, they are using the inexpensive and cheap and easily available hardware only they are using for storing the Google files. They are using which hardware means cheaply and easily available hardware parts only they are using, even though they are using the commodity hardware for storing the files. It provides the fault tolerance. That means even though some of the hardware is failed, happily the file system will work without any problem. And also this GFS will deliver a high performance to large number of clients. Okay, even though more number of clients are connected at a time, it will provide the high performance. It will give average high performance, high aggregate performance to a large number of clients. Even the more number of clients contacted at a time, it will provide high performance to the clients. That is the second one. In this GFS file system, the files are organized in hierarchical order. Hierarchical order means tree structured order. Already we know hierarchical order means generally in a tree order. Root node will be there. Okay, next child nodes, next child nodes, like that. Okay, when we come to this hierarchical order, in case of files also the files are organized in hierarchical order. That means root node. Okay, the first drive is called the root node. Next, subdirectories, root directories, subdirectories, and the file name. That entire is called that entire line is called file path. Okay, or simply path names. Okay, the GFS will store the files in some hierarchical order. In some hierarchical order, the files will be stored internally, and the files are identified by path names, and we can identify those files with the help of this hierarchical order of path names. And this Google file system will support the usual operations: creation of a file, deletion of a file, opening a file, closing a file, read operation on the files, and write operations. It supports the usual file operations like create, delete, open, close, read, and write operations. Moreover, GFS has two more operations are there, that is snapshot operation and record append operations are there. Two more operations are available. The first one is the snapshot operation and the second one is the record append operations. What is this? Snapshot means creating a copy of that one. Okay, whatever the instance, current instance of the file, the same instance of the file can be created another copy, that is called snapshot. Okay, snapshot creates a copy of a file at low cost. We will create a duplicate copy of the file with a low cost, that is called the snapshot. And what is this record append operations means? Record append operation means, okay, it can allow multiple clients to append data to the same file concurrently without losing the atomicity of the file. Clear? Record append operation will allow multiple clients to append data to the same file concurrently, means at the same time, without losing the atomicity. Atomicity means the data should be same, unique. Wherever the same file exists, the data should be unique. Clear? That means the record append operation allows multiple clients to add data at the end of the same file parallelly without losing the atomicity. That means the user data should not be loose. Any client data should not be loose. This is the basic introduction about the Google file system. Clear? The first one is Google file system is a scalable distributed file system for large distributed data intensive applications. It is used for the largely distributed data intensive application. That means for those applications which are generating the large amounts of data, this Google file system can be used, which is a distributed file system. Clear? This GFS can provide fault tolerance. That means even though some of the hardware is failed, okay, the client will not have any problem. The process of the file system will work happily, even though some of the hardware is failed. It provides fault tolerance while running on the inexpensive commodity hardware, even though it is running on the inexpensive and frequently available cheap hardware. Okay, it will provide the fault tolerance, and also it will provide high performance. It will give high performance to a large number of clients. It will give an aggregate high performance to large number of clients. And when we come to the GFS, okay, here the files are organized in hierarchical order and they are identified by unique path names. They are identified by the path names. They are arranged in hierarchical order in the directories and identified by the path names. Next, the GFS will support the usual operations like create, delete, open, close, read, and write files. Moreover, GFS will also support the snapshot and record append operations. Okay, snapshot means nothing but the creation of the copy of a file at low cost. Okay, creating a copy of the file, whatever the data at the current moment in the file. Okay, the same data copy will be created as another file. Nothing but creating duplicate copy of a file. Next, record append operation is nothing but multiple clients are allowed to append data. Append operation means nothing but adding data at the end of the file is called append operation. Append means adding data at the end. Okay, we can allow multiple clients to append data to the same file concurrently without losing the property of atomicity. I think in the DBMS you have seen the acid properties. One of the property of the acid properties is the atomicity. Atomicity means wherever we have the same copy, number of copies of the file, whenever we have the number of copies of a file, all the data must be same, uniqueness. Okay, ఫైల్స్ ఎన్ని కాపీస్ అయినా ఉండండి, ఎక్కడ ఎన్ని కాపీస్ ఉన్నా సరే అందులో డేటా మొత్తం ఎలా ఉండాలి, సేమ్ ఉండాలి. అటామిసిటీ, యూనిక్యూనెస్. క్లియర్? That is the thing, data to the same file without losing the property of the atomicity. These are the few basic properties of the Google file system. Mm, if the basics are clear, then we can go for the concept of the, we have to briefly see the Google GFS architecture and its components. What is the architecture of this Google file system and what are its components? That is, we have to briefly see. Generally, this Google file system is composed of clusters. Okay, it is composed of the clusters. Clusters means group. A cluster can be defined. General meaning of a cluster is a group. Here, a group of computers will be, or machines is called a cluster. The Google file system will contain number of clusters will be there. Okay, multiple number of clusters are available in the Google file system. Okay, and a cluster can be defined as a set of networked computers. Okay, a group of connected computers can be defined as a cluster. Okay, some set of networked computers is called a cluster. And when we come to the GFS, okay, there it is a GFS is a combination of number of clusters. Number of clusters will be there where each cluster is a set of networked computers. That means set of connected computers. The GFS have number of clusters are there, where each cluster is a set of connected computers. Each cluster might contain hundreds or even thousands of computers will be there in each cluster. Hundreds to thousands of computers will be there, which are connected with one another. Clear. And when we come to the GFS cluster, if you take a single cluster of the GFS, it has mainly three entities will be there in each cluster. There are mainly three entities will be there. Mainly three entities will be there. What are those means? They are first entity is the client, the second entity is the master server, and the third entity is the chunk server. When we come to the GFS cluster, there are mainly three entities will be there. They are the client, master server, and the chunk server. Clear. First of all, what is this Google? This Google file system is a group of clusters. It is a combination of number of clusters, whereas each cluster can be defined as a set of networked computers. Set of means some number of computers will be connected with one another. It is called the set of networked computers. Okay. A single cluster is a set of networked computers, whereas a GFS is composed of a number of clusters will be there in a Google file system. Each cluster can contain hundreds to thousands number of machines will be there. And when we come to each cluster will mainly contain three things: client, master server, and the chunk server. Okay. If you observe, this is the architecture of the Google file system. Okay. When we take each cluster architecture will be like this. We can define each architecture of each Google file system cluster can be this one. If you observe here, mainly three will be there: GFS master server, GFS client is the chunk servers. Next, GFS client. These are the three main parts: client, master server. This is called the master server, and these are the chunk servers. Okay, these are the chunk servers, master server, and the client will be there. Okay, briefly, what will happen here is in simple in our language, in our simple language, what will happen here means first, whenever a client wants to create a new file, whenever it wants to store some new files on the server, first client will communicate with the master server. I want to store some files in your server. Okay, the client will approach the master server and it will ask the master server, it will communicate with the master server. I want to store some files in your server. Okay, then what actually the master server will do is the master server will create the namespace for that files. Okay, you will identify the what are the available chunk servers. The master server will simply identify what are the available chunk servers, and after identifying what are the available chunk servers, okay, he will identify the available chunk servers, properly working chunk servers, with the help of the heartbeat of the chunk servers. By using the heartbeat of the chunk servers, it will know the state of each server. Okay, which chunk servers are working properly and which servers are not working properly. It will know the state. It will know the state, and after knowing the state of the servers using the heartbeat of the chunk servers, the master server will create the namespace for the files. Whatever the file that the client want to store for that file, it will create a namespace. That means it will create the entire path of unique path for that file. See, root, directory 1, directory 2, so on file A. Okay, it will create a namespace for that files in which location they have to be stored in the chunk server. In the chunk servers, in which location it has to be stored. That namespaces will be designed by this master. Clear. Then that file name chunk locations will be given to the client. Those namespaces and chunk locations will be given to the client. That information will be given to the server. Client, you can store your data in the following chunk servers. You can store your data in the chunk server A, or you can store your data in the chunk server B, or chunk server C, like that. It will provide that information to the client. The duty of the master is only to identify which chunk servers are available for storing the files, and to give that information to the client. Then the client will communicate with the corresponding chunk server, and it will store its file in the chunk server. Clear? For example, if the master server tells that your file can be stored in the chunk server A, then the client will take that information and it will communicate with chunk server A, and it will store its data in the chunk server A. Clear? Here actually where is the data means the files are actually stored on the chunk servers only. The master server will not store any data. Only it will maintain the information about the entire operation. Okay, it will maintain the operational log. That means which files of which client are storing in which servers. That information will be maintained by this master server. Clear? Only it will maintain the operational log. The simple main duty of the master server is to maintain the operational log, which indicates that okay, which files of which client are stored in which chunk servers. Clear? When we come to the chunk servers, they are operating on the Linux operating system. The chunk servers are mainly working on the Linux environment, and they will store the client files in the form of chunks. Okay, they will store the client files in the form of chunks, means partitions. The file will be divided into 64 MB partitions. Each file will be divided into the partitions, each of the size 64 MB. Each partition is called a chunk. Clear? The file will be divided into in the form of chunks, and the chunks are stored in the chunk server, which is working on the Linux operating system. Clear? For maintaining the reliability, okay, while storing the files, for maintaining the reliability, the same file will be stored in minimum of 3 chunk servers. A same file will be stored in a minimum of 3 chunk servers, so that even though one server is failed, the client can get the file from another server. For the safety and for to maintain the point of reliability, each the files will be stored in a minimum of 3 chunk servers. Okay, depending on the requirement of the client, we can store the same in more number of chunk servers also, but generally a minimum of 3 clients will be 3 chunk servers will store the same file. Clear? Tomorrow we will know more about in the next class we will discuss completely more points about this architecture. In simply, what is this architecture contains? Client, chunk server and master server. In simple lines, I am telling now, then we will discuss more detail about the architecture. In simple lines, the client first will communicate with the master server. The master server will maintain the details like, okay, the master server will maintain the details of the chunk servers. Actually, data will be stored, actually, the data files will be stored in the chunk servers, but the details of the chunk servers are available with the master server only. So first client will communicate with master server by giving the file name. I want to store this file. Then master server will give the chunk server names, which chunk servers are available, and the client will contact those chunk servers, and it will store the data in those chunk servers. Clear? That is briefly what is happening. In the next class, we will discuss completely about the architecture of the Google file system. Okay. Tomorrow we will learn more things about this one. Again, we will discuss this concept and we will get more points about this one. Thank you very much.